is calling me. Africa is calling me. Hey, hey, oh, oh, forward I go marching to Mama Africa. I'm gonna take a trip to the motherland. That's the place my ancestors come from.
Peace, Black Power. Welcome to another edition of Baba TV, House of Consciousness. I'm here in Washington, D.C. at the famous SANKOFA restaurant and bookstore with my elder, Brother Tehuti. Brother, last time I saw you was last May. A lot of things have been transpiring recently. One, let's just say the transcendence of our brother and Baba, Doc Ben. And I saw you down in Harlem on Sonetta TV.
Yes, well, there was no way that I would have missed going to honor my mentor, my elder, and my friend. And probably one of the few men that had a very significant impact on my life and the direction that my life took once I first saw him. People ask, and it was back basically in 1975 at Federal City College. And the student government down there brought him in to do a lecture, and I was just so happy to see this man. In fact, what was very odd, I had been introduced to the book Black Man of the Nile while I was studying in the All African People's Revolutionary Party's work-study program. And to see and hear him in person was a moment of revelation. From that time forward, I had a chance to see him many times, traveling with the House of Kemet bookstore as vendors to the ASCAC conventions, the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilizations. Again, I got a chance to see him for several years in a row. And the most important thing out of those experiences wasn't so much his lectures during the conferences, but it was the casual time that I was fortunate enough to be able to sit down with him at his hotel room, sometimes with John Henry Clark and other persons, and talk casually. Or I should say, I listened as they talked casually as opposed to a formal lecture. The other aspect of my relationship with Doc, of course, was my advisory capacity to a local work-study group off of Howard University's campus. That group was called Break the Chain Study Group, and the name came from the title of Naeem Akbar's book, Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery. So this work-study group was put together by Dr. Denise Phelps, a faculty member at Howard, but all of the students again were civilians or non-students, but people from the community who wanted to get together and study at an intense level as opposed to you know, being enrolled in school. But during that association, I guess over a 3.5-year period, Doc Ben came down to DC at least I would say at least a dozen times, all right, just to talk to the work-study group and work with the work-study group over their studies of ancient Nile Valley culture and civilization. And again, on a couple of occasions, I was called upon to go to the train station, Union Station, and pick Doc up. In fact, once I picked up Doc and John Henry Clark and took them to Dr. Phelps' apartment, and and we had about a 6.5-hour timeline between the time I picked him up and the time the program was supposed to start that evening. And again, that was a great experience, sitting there, listening to them going back and forth about the greatest of the Nile Valley pharaohs, which one made the biggest impact. Listening to these two giants discuss this, it just filled me with knowledge. Didn't ask hardly any questions, it didn't say very much. Again, I was just in a listening mode. And then the crown jewel for me with Doc Ben was a 1998 trip to the Nile Valley. I went with him and on his tour, and on the tour, having the opportunity at the temples and other monument sites to then question him personally about what we were seeing, and the impact of what I was seeing was of just a higher significance. And then as we arrived, there was some type of contest that was sponsored by the sponsors of the trip on the bus, and I won the contest. And the prize was having the opportunity of having a private dinner with Doc in his hotel room of the balcony overlooking the Nile River. And so on the night, that evening when we had that dinner, again, he and I sitting out on the Nile watching the boats going up and down. I mean, mentally, you could, in your mind, we went back 5,000 years. We could picture ourselves being there at the height of the dynastic period when the pharaohs ruled the Nile River Valley. But what we talked about, again, was just the height of my experiences with him. We lost a giant, but I was telling some younger folk just a couple of weeks ago that with Doc Ben, I think we'll look at Doc Ben years down the road very similarly as to how we look at Martin Luther King Jr. today. When Martin Luther King was assassinated in 1968, he was, like the black civil rights leader. By the 1980s, he was the black civil rights leader that had a national holiday. By 2013, he's that black civil rights leader who has a national holiday and a monument down on the mall. So though his life ended in 1968, his significance, who he was, the impact on this country was still growing 40 years after his death. And I see Doc Ben's legacy developing in the same way. When I think of younger professors like Dr. Greg Carr over across the street there at Howard University, who's a dynamic African Studies professor who was influenced by Doc Ben, and I'm sure there are other graduates of various African Studies programs across the country, young brothers and sisters whose root in Afrocentric studies, as the title goes, is all based on the foundation that Doc Ben laid down with his, not just the book, The Black Men of the Nile, but also the series of lectures as he traveled crisscross back and forth across the country and spoke to college audiences and community audiences about just who the persons were who built the civilization along the Nile River Valley. And just in closing, I know one of the my personal experience, another personal experience with Doc. In 1966, I was in the U.S. Air Force and was stationed in Tripoli, Libya. They had an Air Force base just outside of Tripoli, Willis Air Base. And while there, I had the occasion of going to Egypt. And when I walked in the museum in Cairo in that trip, the first thing that I saw walking into the museum totally stunned me. I had been influenced by movies like The Ten Commandments, Ben-Hur, or other big Hollywood monster movies telling the story of the people of the Nile Valley in ancient Egypt. And therefore, looking at Yul Brynner as a pharaoh, or Elizabeth Taylor as a princess, or pharaoh queen. When I went to North Africa, I did not know that black people really had anything to do with ancient Egypt or Nile Valley civilization. But the first thing I saw when I went in the museum in Cairo back in 1966 was the bust of Amenhotep III. And seeing that black basalt bust sitting there, looking at his features, looking at his hair, right away, and this is a black man. And why don't I know this? Was the first question that came up in my mind. And from that experience in my, through the museum, when I got back to the States, when I was enrolled at Howard University, originally my degree pursuits was in engineering. I was in engineering in the military. But from that moment, while I was at the museum in Cairo, I knew when I came back to the States and got out of the military, I was going back to school and change my major to history. Because if the ancient black man had created and built the civilization along the Nile, and I didn't know it, I knew that whatever was called education that I had up to that point was really miseducation. And I needed to go back, and instead of letting counselors and heads of departments guide my education, I needed to go back and select my own courses and seek the type of knowledge that would bring me to a level of what I would consider full enlightenment. And again, when I would tell that story to Doc Ben, he basically laughed, you know, like, and said, very few men had the experience that I had. In terms of going there and seeing what was there and having it be the event that changed their life. So yeah, I miss Doc Ben. Later on this afternoon, I'll be one of the local people here in Washington, D.C. I'm going to the tribute that's been organized by Tony Browder and Paul Coates. They're having it at the Thurgood Marshall Center down at the 12th Street YMCA today. And I look forward to going down and just adding my voice to those who will get a chance to just say something about Doc and how Doc impacted their life.
What do you think about what our young people are doing in Baltimore and the action that they took? Are they crazy? Are they out of their mind? And what do you think about the mother who went upside her son's head and tried to get him out from fighting and protesting as a young man?
Or perhaps being a target for a police bullet.
That's true too, right.
In general, I'm so happy for the people of Baltimore and the young folks from Baltimore for standing up and protesting outright police brutality. Again, in the last 2 years, it's unprecedented. The number of cases of young black men being killed that's reached the state of national attention. What happened in Baltimore was ridiculous. There were eyewitnesses to it. Everybody saw what happened. And so the fact that the young folks rose up and they said, we're not taking this no more, to hell with you, the power structure. And in this case, the power structure being a black mayor, a black police commissioner, a black general, head of the National Guard. The young folk went out in the street and voiced their disgust at these killings of black folk without there being any immediate repercussions to the folks who in fact inflicted the murder on the black man. So I was very happy to see them get out there and do what they did. If you know our history here in this country, if you don't hit the white man upside the head with a rock, you don't bust him upside the head, you're not going to get his attention. See, and it took a riot. It took the folks standing up and actually rebelling to get the attention, not just of the mayor of Baltimore, but of the whole country as such. And this time, as opposed to what happened in New York City, where the whole world saw a black man killed on the sidewalk, choked to death, all right, by cops. All right, and as far as I know, I still haven't seen them pull any cigarettes out of his pocket to prove that he was standing outside selling cigarettes. But at any rate, in restraining him to lock him up, they killed this man right on the sidewalk of the state of New York, and a grand jury of that community didn't see a crime take place. I mean, how ludicrous can you get? You just can't keep doing stuff in people's face and calling it rain. They know what they're seeing, they know what's happening. And since the young folk of Baltimore, the young black men and the teenagers, are the highest potential victims of police brutality in Baltimore, they're the ones who wouldn't listen to the adults and went out there and rebelled and got real nasty with it. And by getting nasty with it just that one day, see, like, it raised so much stress in the power structure that they had to immediately respond. And then they flipped the script on the people. They turned around and said, okay, we're going to go out and clean this up. I don't want you all to think that we just thugs, like the president said. We love our community, but look, you all got to listen. we have to do something to get your attention. Now we're going to go out here in the street and clean our own community up. Yes, see? So it just shows you the spirit of the people. But the thing that bothers me the most,
and not to cut you in, Brother Tehuti, when they came back and said, we're going to create more jobs.
Yeah.
You used to say a whole lot to me about the poison of trying to tell our people that you need to they need to go get a job.
That's exactly where I was going. See, the so-called solutions that everybody first offered up is, let's offer the same solution. Let's tell them, you know, we're going to create some kind of jobs for them again, put them back again on some type of plantation, making some low wages, you know, like, and they're only going to take at best 10% of the people and employ them, and 90% of the people will be left in the same situation they're in because they don't have a plan to empower the poor community anywhere in this country. There is no way that capitalism is going to reform itself and provide a capitalist solution for the ghetto or for the community where the poorest people are. The solution that the folks really need to look at, the problem in West Baltimore is that all of those people as a community are in the same boat. And they need to see, they have a collective problem. So they need a collective solution as opposed to a solution based on individualism. See, which one of y'all, if we put you in a training program, going to behave and stay out of trouble and graduate from the training program so we can put a couple of y'all on the job? See? Or they see, look, if that community really needs a pharmacy, they need a pharmacy as such, right? Why beg CVS to come back in their community and hire 3 or 4 of their people and then take all the profits from the pharmacological profits out of the community to make some white folks rich somewhere else? See, if they really need a pharmacy, look, next Saturday, 1 week from today, right across the street there's Howard University. How many pharmacy students will be graduating from Howard Universities with degrees, you know, with pharmacological degrees? We have young folk all over the country getting their degrees in this field. If the community really needs a pharmacy in that community, they can implement a policy that the rich folks used on them. They can flip the script. See, when they rebuilt the harbor and built that Raven Stadium in Orioles Park, the city officials used a law called eminent domain. That is, the public needs this land, we're going to rebuild it, so the government just takes the land and decide to reallocate the land for whatever purpose they want to do. Well, the people in West Baltimore needs to, by eminent domain, declare that they're going to take the land in their community as such. All of those buildings over there that's run down and boarded up, listen, they need to set up their own community training program with the Carpenters Union, the Brick Masons Union, the Electrical Union, and the Plumbers Union. What are they going to do? They got all of these buildings with all this stuff that need to be torn down. Let the brothers have a training program for them to disassemble all that stuff over there and train them to rebuild and build their own structure. They can build their own drugstore. They can subcontract to get all of the pharmaceutical stuff that comes that's going into CVS. If CVS really wants to help them, go into a partnership with a community-owned drug facility, you know, like that. They will sell them drugs from their warehouses at the same rate they sell to their franchises, but the ownership of that pharmacy will be that of that community's. Now the community has a stake in the store in their community. They're not going to tear that down. The same thing, all those little corner stores with all those foreigners from wherever, you know, like who own the corner stores selling stuff at those exorbitant prices, because there are no type of large grocery stores close to where these people are. So yeah, they're going to run down and buy everything they buy is at a higher price than what they would if they had a major supermarket. But look, one of the things they need to really build for themselves is a supermarket in that community. And again, on this training program where they're producing carpenters, brick masons, electricians, and plumbers that they have created for themselves, they can build their own facility to have their own central market. And instead of ordering all that poison in those cans and stuff to feed poor people, see, they can hook up with these farmers markets and have fresh produce and fresh foods coming in, and they can, some of the folks will have jobs in those facilities, from warehousing to stocking the shelves, you know, like to being in the produce section, the grocery section, the meat section if they have to have it, but they can do it for themselves. But by trying to implement an old model from the 20th century, we're just going to go in, we'll get Target to come in and build a store, we'll get CVS to come in and build a store, we'll get Best Buy to come in and build a big store, and we'll give the folk these low-like jobs. We'll get Costco to come into the community with these big box stores. Again, but the profits from doing that all flows out of the community. If they really want to see the community change and have ownership, give the community ownership of the facilities that need to be built to take care of their needs. It's time for a different model. And I just hope that those persons who call themselves leaders, and you know, like I'm impressed with some of the young brothers. The young brother that's the city councilman from the district, young man, he's talking very positively. You know, like all he needs is a little more education about, he doesn't know what. Again, that word jobs. See, when you tell a kid, the reason that you need to get educated so you can get a good job. You need to get a high school diploma so you can get a good job. You need a college degree so you can get a good job. See, listen, educated people can get employed, but the purpose of education shouldn't be just to be employed. The purpose of education is to be enlightened, to get knowledge. And with a good knowledge base, instead of just looking for a job, you will look for the kind of things that your community needs and look for a way to provide those types of things. Again, this very business like you all have developed, I'm so proud of the House of Consciousness Productions and all of the fingers that it's sprouting going, you know, like in terms of the brothers, Sinetta, you and the other brothers that's doing this, because you've taken this technology, modern digital technology, all right, and you are recording information that young folk all over the country wants to hear, and you've provided a way of empowering them through these DVDs and these lectures. They are not stuck with just having to watch TV or some European movie producer's version, you know, like of what's going on either in reality in the streets or going on, or what's gone on in the ancient world. I heard the boy, they had a guy on TV who invented the movies The Wire and Homicide, those TV stories about how dysfunctional Baltimore was as such, see? And the question came up, well, did his, you know, what he showed of Baltimore, did that add to the disruption that's over there now? In a way, yeah, because it's not showing, I mean, there was nothing constructive. Nobody in The Wire created anything positive, you know, for the, as an alternative for the young brothers in the street to be engaged in, as opposed to finding a way to survive inside of what I call a concentration camp, like an Indian reservation, you know, and that's what the ghetto is, and that's why the type of policing that's been evident now, that's been taking place these last few years, is fill the ghetto with these cops, because we got the young folk in a situation where they're not employed in anything positive. They don't have any source of income, so there's a 95% probability that they're going to engage in what for all practical purposes is petty hustles of various types, right, in order to have some monies to do some things. You know, like, I mean, look, 40 miles away from, right here in this city, if I were inclined to do so, I could go in my house or in my apartment and I could light up a joint. 40 miles, but if one of those kids up there has a joint on them and they're stopped by the police, they are entering into the criminal justice system. If they resist in any way of being locked up for this, what's now a legal behavior over a lot of the country, it hasn't spread all the way yet, but if they engage in it, see, they're called a criminal, or they're called a thug by even folks like the President of the United States, see, for engaging in behavior that was created through a set of lies in the first place. I mean, if you go back and you look at the films about the history of marijuana and how it became illegal in America, you know, like you'll understand how white criminals in government positions will criminalize the behavior of people. In fact, a sister, her name was Shashi McIntyre, she wrote a book called Criminalizing the Race. And how do you do that? Well, if you know that it's to relax or just, you know, like to mess around, I mean, nobody is really engaged in selling nickel bags is ever going to get rich selling nickel bags of marijuana. But if you know that the people are distraught, feeling bad about the condition that they're living in, feeling bad about the fact that they have no source of revenue, you know, for development, they're going to do things, all right, to address this mental condition and the psychological trauma of being forced to live in a poor community. People resort to the type of substances that relieves that trauma on their mind. Alcohol, beer, wine, or marijuana relieves that trauma. I mean, most folks engage in it. I mean, back during the 60s when white folks came out of their shell, and that generation of white folks went crazy, running all over the country to Woodstock and every place, just smoking joints and having fun. They weren't called criminals. They wasn't coming down hard trying to figure out how they were getting this marijuana. But once they made marijuana a Schedule I drug, and then where did they descend? They didn't descend on the big white college campuses where all these white liberal students are smoking marijuana at all these parties, these frat houses and those kind of things. They didn't go there. Where did the police forces concentrate their power? Let's go on the poor community, and you know, where we know these oppressed people are going to turn to those kind of things also. I mean, hey, in the quote-unquote community, from back in the day, there were numbers runners. Now these numbers writers and runners, they had developed their own lottery system in the community, you know, like for the community people to take a chance to make some little extra change if they hit the number. So what did the system come along and do? They said, oh no man, so many those folks in the ghetto, in the community, is making too much money off their own business that they developed. So they took it and made the lottery a state function so they could take all the money. Now a whole level of folks that were engaged in what some people call community hustle don't have a way of making money. But a lot of numbers writers, cats who were in the numbers business, also financed Negro League baseball and other kinds of things, because again, when you have a society like the American society has been over the last 150 years, see, every opportunity the black man has taken to bring himself up, the white man has come along and undermined it and taken it away from him. See, so the only ones that get a chance to look respectable to them are those who do everything they can to assimilate or integrate up into his system. So in order to try to show the world that they're not as racist as they really are, they'll have one or two faces here, there, spread all over the place. You know, like, and especially in government, in local city governments, the federal government, and what have you. That's where they've absorbed a lot of the young black folk who went to college and got degrees, who can do those type of jobs. But in terms of entrepreneurs, the best black entrepreneurs are always swept up into and become workers for the white ownership of the big corporations. I mean, some of these white corporations have some real genius people, all right, that come out of our communities that took advantage of the civil rights victories, all right, and went into schools, and if they went into the big white schools and graduated, they got a degree from Harvard, they got a degree from Yale, they can be hired in these law firms or these CPA firms and things of this nature, right? But these are not the kind of skills that drift back down to the community, because the community as of now doesn't own, or we don't own, the business structure that would employ our own folks up in them, and from our community understand the customer base that we are serving as such. So this idea of calling on Safeway or calling on CVS or calling on another big white plantation owner who got some kind of franchise job that he can put into your community to pull all the profits out while he gives one or two of you a job is not the solution that Baltimore needs. They need to look at another path. And don't let the white man scare you about the word socialism. See, you have a social problem. It's a collective social problem, and you need the science of dealing with this social problem to address the solution. Now let's go back and look at what happened to America after the 1929 stock market crash, and they voted in Franklin Delano Roosevelt. What Franklin Delano Roosevelt did to save America was to create socialism and mix it in with capitalism. See, the Tennessee Valley Authority was a government program that was used to bring electricity throughout the mountain ranges from Tennessee, West Virginia, and throughout that area, right? All these government jobs that was created, people working to produce the funds so that now people can go to stores and buy food and clothing and other kind of stuff, the economy. Franklin Roosevelt brought in Social Security. Look at the word social. See, for old folks, again, as you're working, we're gonna pull some money aside out of your money so that when you get old, there's some sort of safety net so that you won't be poor as you're an old person. So what Roosevelt did was use these elements of socialism and mix them into what we call into this economy, and that saved America. America is not just a pure capitalist country as it likes to just project and talk about itself. Actually, America is a mixed economy. Some socialism and capitalism working hand in hand to make the society go forward. And if they could do it at that level to save America, what the leaders in Baltimore need to really look at and think about, study their economics, and think about the same type of solutions. The city government involvement in a partnership with the people in the poor community who should form a community corporation, and then invite, like I say, set up a situation where they will train brothers in brick masonry, carpentry skills, metallurgy, plumbing, and what have you, so that they can go in and all of that plight, all of those buildings that's sitting over there just dry rotting, they can take those down. They can learn how to save the brick. They can learn how to do so many things. Then they can build on those concrete platforms. They can build structures that could be used now for Section 8 housing. Now, what is Section 8? That is, the government is going to pay poor people in a poor enough situation. Well, they're going to pay a landowner to allow these poor people to live in this building because the government don't have enough government-owned housing. So if the corporation owns the housing and the people in the community get it to move in, and the Section 8 money is paying for their living in the building, see, the money is circulating back around inside of their community as opposed to going out someplace else. But that's the type of thinking that they need. They do not need any type of thinking to just try one of the old programs that work someplace else when they put a Band-Aid on a big gaping wound.
It's gonna be hard to come behind that.
Yeah, but now again, yeah, and this is not going to be the only. Baltimore's not going to be the only place to explode. And now that these young folk around the rest of the country have looked and seen what the folks in Baltimore did to get somebody to listen to them, you let another one of these cops go out here somewhere and shoot another brother in the back or kill another brother. Let another Ferguson come up. Let another New York City, whatever that place out there on the island that where they killed that brother. Staten Island, yeah. See, let somebody with their little cell phone TV camera capture another one of these rogue oppressors
and don't do nothing.
Right, killing somebody. Yeah. See, hey. So like the pendulum right now can swing totally the other way, but it can't rest just on this one incident. See, this incident has happened, there's been a response to it, just the initial response. Like a lot of folks are saying, like there is no convictions yet. Did the prosecutor go too far out there on the limb with too many charges? Are these boys going to be able to wiggle off for the limb and get, get a innocent verdict? But at least, like the main thing though, they are going on trial. And they have to test their innocence in a court of law, a situation that they don't offer to a lot of the poor residents of Baltimore. See, a lot of them, they get them in a situation, and then they'll offer them some type of plea agreement. You're going to do 30 years, but if you plead to this charge right here, you'll be out in 5. See, so again, so now you've criminalized this person. He's a convicted felon, all right, and half of, or 80% of capitalist America won't give him any type of chance of employing him now that he's a convicted felon. In a whole lot of places, he can't vote to change his situation. So he has been put outside of the civil and social arena by the law, because he's been criminalized by something that Bill Clinton, while he's running around playing saxophones and pretending to like black people, Bill Clinton put the most vicious laws against the people in place in the last 100 years. And then what did he have the nerve to say? Well, he didn't realize they're going to be that harsh. They overshot their agenda. Overshot, yeah. He had planned, he knew that he was going to have an impact, but he didn't know it was going to be as bad that these folks have been able to turn this stuff around and make it. See, so again, the people who pretend to be your friend, remember smiling faces? Wasn't we warned in that song from the people, like from 40 years ago? See, like, hey, watch the man from the South, like from the Confederacy, who pretends to like black folk. Like during most of our history in this country, see, the white man they would sit down to negotiate with the black folks there were two types. That one that everybody knew was the harshest white man in the area, or the one that pretended that, like that he kind of liked you and he kind of tolerated you. He let you get a little credit in his store, like other kind of little things, right? So he would smile in your face, and he'd be the ones that could penetrate inside your community and get information out of you for their benefit.
Like them crackers upstate New York.
There you go. See what I call? Boxes. There you go. So back in the after the exposure of the white Confederate legislatures of the 60s was made available, the Democrats came up with a new plan. They created something called, they're young Democrats, then they called themselves a new type of Democrat, and Bill Clinton come out of these new Democrats. See, how can we keep this black vote and pretend to be their friend, like in this do minimum advancement for them? See, and that's exactly what they got. See, hey, and now here comes this boy's wife coming around. She wanted to be the first woman president. But again, she was part of the old regime that put a lot of these rough laws in place that's got us, that's got the conditions that you see today. See, like it was the Clinton administration that put the foundation in place for the internet age. Like for all these, back in the day, all of these companies that were booming coming out of the 90s, before George W. Bush became president. See, all that stuff was laid down under Clinton. So now you got a college dropout who come up with something like Facebook. Then everybody in the world, oh, this is a great idea. So now everybody's on Facebook. The television stations everybody's on Facebook, making this boy even richer. But what they don't tell you is that when they saw the idea, all these rich white folks from all these big companies invested their money. They bought the stock. So of course they want Facebook to be rich. Yeah, the guy who invented it, he gets some notoriety, but the folks who's getting paid, the folks who are getting paid are those folks who, yes sir. How much?
13, I believe. I'm 13? Not sure. I'm just delivering the stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right, let her know I need to know what it is. Okay. Those are $6 a piece? That's no problem. I mean, hey, I want it. It looked delicious and I wanted it, so hey.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, you're welcome, brother. Hey. Yeah, I'm not going to complain about price. Yeah, Dave. So yeah, so that's how I see all of that. Like it's again. I hope it is a step forward. Like in young black folk thinking differently about what their possible solutions are. And for the mass of poor black folk, okay. For the mass of poor black folk, the solution again is not again one of what I call it comes out of white trickology of creating another one of those a social program like OIC or something, a social program or somebody that's going to train some folks and then teach them how to interview and teach them how to go out and look for a job. See, that's the solutions from the 2000s. What we need in the 21st century, you know, like, is a different kind of solution base. And again, I beg the young folk to look at the whole concept of a collective response or collective solution for the problems that ail them and that face them right now. See, again, it's easy for them to come up out of their trick bag with something that'll give 500 black folks out of the ghetto in Baltimore a job. But how many black folk in Baltimore, quote unquote, need jobs? Are unemployed. See? So I mean, if they bring in a big box store, if they bring in a big, you know, like a Costco, they bring in a Best Buy, they bring in a CVS,
Walmart.
There you go, Walmart. See, if they put all of those out, make a shopping center, and put all those big stores in it and such, right? What are they going to employ? 500 people? You know, and you got thousands of folks over there that's out of work. You got thousands of folks over there that's been deemed unemployable. That's been tagged with this federal title, felon, a convicted felon. See, they're going to have to create a situation where, hey, look, man, that's not going to make a difference. If you've done your time, you got caught up in that, you out now, you got a skill, and you want to, you know, create you a family or take care of your family and go forward, we got a way to help you go forward. All we ask from you is the commitment to work with us to go forward. But if you still want to engage in that other side of life, and that other lifestyle, it's not a lot that we can do for you as a community. The community is trying to lift itself up. See, and we understand that the way the community exists right now, you know, we understand the economics inside the poor community. But to lift ourselves up, we have to look at doing this a different kind of way. See, like, hey, I mean, if we could get, if the Black Guerrilla family, the Crips and the Bloods could come together to decide to tone down and let's have a peaceful march for the upliftment of Baltimore, if they had enough consciousness to be at that point, see, they have enough consciousness to understand, well, they would be the workforce. They're the ones who can learn to be carpenters and brick masons and plumbers and electricians, who can start building homes and start building businesses. See, like, to start reaping the benefits of having those type of skills. See, all they have to do, and when the community makes its rules in terms of who's going to be enrolled and who's going to get the jobs, well, we're working for the community corporation as electricians. We're looking for the community corporations as carpenters. And the community corporation is good. We're going to claim that house over there, eminent domain, and we're going to come in and we're going to renovate it. And we're going to make it, you know, livable. See, like, in its many, many, many streets with many, many buildings that could be renovated and brought up to standard. I mean, up to modern standards that could be useful and used for revenue generating purposes. But whatever you do, don't let the government come in there and bulldoze everything down. See, like, and then, see, their long-term plan is they're looking for somebody white. They're looking for white investors. Hey, we're not looking for white investors. What we're looking for is for, just like you took our money as taxpayers and leveraged it to build Oreo Stadium and Raven Stadium and fix up that Baltimore Harbor, we want you to leverage our money, tax money, to invest in this community corporation that we're going to use to lift ourselves up and build ourselves up out of this. This is what we want. You, Mr. Council Member, that's from our community, you young Mr. Council Member from our community, that's what we need. You all have been good politicians to get elected, but you have been elected with only a knowledge base based on capitalism and based on the old model. See, you all need to be re-educated also about how do you help a collective of poor black people. See, not how do you help
make them fit like you tried, like somebody made you fit.
There you go. There you go. See, how do we help the group? Not how do we help a handful of individuals. See, and my contention is the whole group can be helped. And how? Well, first of all, look.
Ooh, it's good. You can taste that coconut in it.
Beautiful. Listen. These American Africans living in Baltimore. Notice how I said that. These American Africans who don't know who they are, who trying to be Negroes or trying to be black Americans because that's what somebody told them they were. They don't know. They're Africans born here and have been lost in terms of who they are. You know, like, and because they don't know who they are, they're not doing the kind of things to empower themselves. Listen. I don't know why sisters in 2015 don't want to learn the skill of sewing. The seamstress skills, right? Because look, if in fact what Gandhi did in India when he was trying to get the people to be free, Gandhi made a statement. Gandhi took off all of the Englishman's clothes. All right, and so I'm going to make my own clothes. I'm going to knit me something to wear, make my own clothes. When we stop wearing the Englishman's and the Frenchman's clothing and decide to make clothing that reflects who we are, see now, nobody's going to do this for us, but we need some young brothers who are tailors, who know how to cut and sew cloth, right? And sisters who are seamstresses who know how to cut and sew cloth, right? To start designing a clothing line for American Africans. See, and you can start it right there. That'd be one of the buildings they build, or renovate and build a building for seamstresses, all right, to start this business to make clothing and stop wearing the white man's stuff. If you ask me what you look like, press person who somehow think you can look beautiful by imitating the masses. Right now in 2015, over the last 3 to 7 years, black women have invested billions of dollars into fake hair to weave into their own so they can look like a white girl. See, because they think looking like somebody else is better than looking like themselves, because they don't think the way they look is beautiful. And nobody goes to the beauty salon to be made ugly. They all go so they can be made to look good. So that's what they think they are doing. See, going out there to imitate somebody else's culture with this long flowing hair and all this stuff. In fact, it's at a point of absurdity. Then sometimes the poorer the sister, the longer the fake braids is hanging down her back. You know, all this fake hair. See, again, the sister, what's her name, Beyonce, I don't know how much of that woven stuff is on her head, but by her setting that standard of beauty, because she's the most famous of the female entertainers, black women, see, so she sets a tone. So all these sisters who want to look like her, the only way to look like her, they got to go out and buy some fake hair from somebody. And they ain't buying no fake black hair. They're buying fake hair that looks like somebody else's culture, because they think that makes them look big. See, look good. See, and that's part of the problem. It's who are you, and who are you, and who are you trying to be? See, what is your standard of beauty? See, I've gone through this. See, all the brothers and sisters out there my age who went through the late 60s and early 70s, when we cut off the processes and everything else, when all of a sudden we discovered that we were African descent, and we were saying it loud, the first thing we did, we stopped messing our hair by putting chemicals and stuff in it to make it look straight. We stopped messing our hair up, you know, like with these hot combs to pull it and pull it and pull it to make it look straight, because we found out that was a symbol of us denying our own identity and who we were. That we were finding that we thought we looked better if we imitated the way somebody else looks. See, so we went through a period with wearing dashikis, you know, we had, you know, our own, I mean, you know, it was a beautiful period. It didn't really take root because it got attacked by the federal government and one of our own businesses. I call it Black Enterprise. That was the first program funded out of the Black Capitalism program of Richard Nixon. So when Black Enterprise came out and it decided to start pushing, again, let's going back, wear business suits, brothers. All right, sisters, you know, wear business, you know, no dashikis, no African clothing in the magazine. See, nobody, you know, like being black and proud, they go back and push the vanilla Negro look in the Black Enterprise magazine business, see? And that in and of itself, again, undermines the African consciousness movement that came out of the 60s. You know, like where we were just beginning to be proud of, you know, like our own African features and stuff, and it went backwards. They had more money, so like that, you know, to attack what we were doing, they had more money and the force of the federal government and all the white corporations who decided to go along with it. If people would go back and think in their minds, if you went in a white company's lobby Sitting out there around the coffee table or the little table, it's a Black Enterprise magazine. You go in the dentist's office, you go in the doctor's office, see all the professional people, everybody that had a business, see, like they're the ones who subscribed to Black Enterprise and kept it going. Because, see, Black Enterprise, that's just another way of saying black capitalism. See, like, and so all of that collective stuff you folks come out of the 60s with, now we're going to put that out real quick. Because if that ever catches on, if you all ever wake up to the success of what that would mean for you as a group, then we're going to be in trouble. Remember, the American Africans are the largest internal colony that exists on the earth today. Even with an African, a mixed race president, an African president. American Africans are the largest internal colony in any country on the earth today. Colonized, running around saying we free, but a colony. See, like, and the biggest symbol of the colony are the ghettos. They do the same thing, the same type of policing in the ghettos that they do on the Indian reservations, just like the soldiers used to do in the colonies. That's another people, so we round them up, we keep them oppressed and keep them scared of us. So a handful of soldiers can oppress, like thousands of people. See, so you have a handful of Baltimore police that was raising hell in the ghettos of Baltimore. See, like, it's real easy to do when everybody else is turning away pretending that they don't see what's going on. All those folks who saying the police are beating them up, they criminals, they lying. See, but finally it got to a point where it snapped. And when it snapped, like what you saw in Baltimore over the last week is an example of what happens when you push people too far. See, hey, let some more cops up there near New York City kill another brother live on telephone camera, and it hits the world, and don't nothing happen. Watch what's going to happen up there. See, watch what's going to happen anywhere. All those little small towns going out to the Midwest, those what they used to call sundown towns, all those places where they got the black folks living in one part of the ghetto and the white folks are still prospering in another part of town and stuff. You let another set of situations, like what happened in Ferguson, happen again. See, let another rent-a-cop decide he's going to be walking through an apartment complex or housing area, shoot down and kill another black boy, like what happened to Trayvon Martin. See, right now, the police are on the defensive because all of their tactics, see, like, is being exposed. Just like that cop down there in South Carolina. He didn't know that brother from Dominica was standing over there with a camera recording what he was doing. See, and the way he shot that brother down in the back, he didn't act like this. He was, this was excited. What am I going to do? Pow, pow. Like it was something that he took his time, pulled his gun, aimed carefully, and put all those bullets in that brother. Is what he did. But it's been happening for years. It's been happening for years.
We just didn't have the camera phone.
There you go. And every time anybody complained about it, see, the integrity of the people complaining was called into question. See, that's a black man. Or that's the N-word. That's just an N-word. See, like, and once you reduce to that, see, boom. And as one of them say, well, since the young folk like that word so much and they use it all the time, we feel that we have a right to use it too to describe them. And the real tragedy of the Baltimore case, I'll tell you the real tragedy of the Baltimore case, are the black cops involved in this. That's the real tragedy. See, when they can turn you against yourself, when you can be a police officer, a black police officer, and decide that the cat thrown in the back of the wagon is a worthless piece of this or whatever because he tried to run or whatever the white cops told you he did, and you're going to treat him the way you treat him, taking him in, and then when he know he did something wrong and he called, for somebody to come take a look at this cat in the back, and a brother shows up and this brother's laying in the back unresponsive, and he doesn't call for an ambulance because he doesn't respect the humanity of the brother laying down in the back of that paddy wagon. See, when the brother himself looks at him and see it, and he doesn't call an ambulance on the spot, that's why he's now been arrested, because he has been socialized where he's looking down his nose at his own people. Somehow, because he's a cop with the Baltimore police force, he's better than the people that he's policing. Same thing with the sister. See, the sister, the sister saw the brother laying there. She could have just cut right there on the radio. Call for, now don't go nowhere. Call for an ambulance on the spot. This man needs to go to the hospital. He's saying he needs a doctor. See, but this head, you know, but her in her head, you know, like boom, whatever reason, she won't make the call. Why? Because of her attitude about this. It's a black man laying in the back of that police wagon, so she ain't got no respect for him anyway. See, like her first assumption is he must be guilty of something. He's a black man laying in a police wagon. See, so instead of being human about it and say here's a human being that's in physical distress and needs medical help, in her mind, here's a convict. See? So, yeah, I feel bad for anybody's career that gets impacted, but it's time for people to wake up and look at the attitude of these brothers and sisters who've joined forces with the ruling class of this society, who look down their nose at the poor people too. And it's not just poor black folks. Yeah, I mean, the poor Hispanic folks got treated the same way in large Hispanic speaking communities. Poor Native Americans. Hey, poor white folks. Go up in the hills of West Virginia and out there in Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee and see how those white cops treat those poor white people. See? And some of the same situations. So it's a class attitude that these cats who are now making middle class money as a working police officer, they look down at poor people. Somehow you poor because you wasn't good enough to lift yourself up by your bootstraps and get a job. See, it's that attitude. And the attitude of these black officers now have made them a laughing stock of the world, because they have been indicted for going along with the folks who just, you know, like, who said this brother had done something wrong for running from the white police. His only crime, according, you know, like to the white man, is he looked at him and ran. Well, with all the murdering that white cops have been doing to black people, I'd say the brother looked like he showed a sign of intelligence. If you see a white cop coming along, run from him, because they have the attitude where they'll kill you and get away with it.
Yep.
See, so hey, the brother had a reason to run. It was white cops looking at him.
Yep.
See, that's, if they can't figure that out, now they know. Say, hey, now they know. But it's a new day. Again, keep up with this new technology. They digitize, but whatever they do next, be in front of it. You know, like, hey, and that's one of the things that I hope that when I see Paul Coates and where he's brought his business as Black Classic Press. See, he's the one that's got the contract, the right to publish Doc Ben's books. Yeah, see. Yeah, see, like all of Doc Ben's books are published by Black Classic Press out of Baltimore. Paul Coates Company. And his catalog has grown. And again, we need to encourage folks. Again, for young folk, don't go 100% digital. You also need to be able to read. We have not come so far where we can bypass reading. Books are very, very, very important. Very important. So what we need to encourage folks to do is to continue to buy books, you know, like, and if they really want to know a catalog, they need to look at the catalog of Black Classic Press, because this brother has some very important books that he's brought back into publication that for all practical purposes had gone, you know, that weren't being printed anymore. And he needs to be supported, and as all black bookstores need to be supported.